Hmm. So, would you like to say anything or any questions or something before we start the recording? I mean, the video.
Though there are lots of questions, and I come up with some questions and some answers I get, but on the whole, I know the one thing that first, I didn't give myself permission to always look for a solution. I thought it's being stupid. Life cannot be all solution. You have to bear lots of it. That was my belief. Or that is how I was training myself to not get hyper and depressed and unhappy about things. Now I've decided, no, I'm the type who wants solutions, and it's all right to be wanting,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
that's what,
that's such a big thing.
that has made a huge difference in my attitude to life. Now
Yeah.
and I'm good with finding solutions. I think so,
Yes.
because that's what I do in my life in factories. No, only.
Yeah. Yeah.
But in my personal life, I thought I'm not allowed to look for solutions for everything, because life is not supposed to be a bed of roses, so to speak.
Right.
You're supposed to suffer. You're supposed to have no problem. God's way of telling you to adjust.
Yeah.
All these sad stories were in my mind, and surrender. When you can't push the rock, then go around it.
Yeah.
These kind
Yeah.
of scenarios. So
Yeah.
that part is changing, and because I'm giving myself permission. Okay, it's all right to actually look for solutions.
That's such a
My
huge
favorite,
difference.
and my
Yeah.
favorite word in the whole thing is samadhan.
Yeah.
I love that word.
Yeah. 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 No, exactly.
Uh,
This is what we were talking about yesterday also, that from one tradition we're being told that all solutions are going to be mechanical and that's the end all of human life. And from the other
mm,
end, we're saying all of this is meaningless actually. So there are going to be no solutions here. You just need to learn to live with it somehow
uh,
and then rise above it all. So that's the other end of the spectrum telling us it's not you who has trained yourself. Not
uh,
just you who's trained yourself into doing this. This is a whole tradition in which we are taught to think
mm.
this way, no? To just,
Yeah, exactly. And then me wanting to be a good girl and, not get
yeah,
hyper, and I must not expect and demand so much in life. It's all right. So many things are nice. Let me focus on all kinds of sad stories. But it's
yeah,
okay. If you want to someone, you keep on working on it, you may get, if
yeah,
not the best one, you may get a semi-best. From there, you can move on to another one. It's okay to keep changing your situation to a better one, or, whatever.
yeah. Progressively, you can move towards better. But if you give up, then definitely there won't be any change. Then there's
No,
certainty of no
you cannot
improvement.
keep on controlling it. No, no, it's okay. Oh, let me just meditate and get this anxiety or this painful situation, acceptance and that kind. No, I don't have to. I look it in the eyes. Okay, come,
Yeah,
buddy. What can I do about this?
yeah, yeah. Why is this? It is a reality. Why is it there? We deal with it. We'll learn, we deal with it not in the sense that we'll just make peace with it,
Mm,
but we'll actually
mm,
figure out कि ये कुछ indication आ रहा है, why is this coming, how do we address it, what is its law,
mm.
and figure it
So,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
great.
So, subtly, I'm getting quite a lot of clarity, but the unclarity, when it comes up, I get irritated. How? Then after some time, वो भी अब मिल जाता है.
Nice.
हाँ.
That's a huge relief. No, क्योंकि फिर that's a great indication for the next time कि अभी तक नहीं मिला,
हाँ.
you'll be like ठीक है वो तो मिल जाता है, so I know it will happen
Mm.
eventually. That's
No, that time I don't know. That time I
that's
say, no, I can't get this past this. And the only fear I have is you might say, "Bhai, I can't hold these classes with you asking me so many bad questions." So,
no.
and I go, so that's the only thing. But I too won't give up till the end.
Great, great. No, this is the natural process for all of us to go through. Of course, it's a
Mm.
good thing to have questions. And that's the whole process. If you weren't asking, then I'd be worried. So,
Mm.
hi, Prachi.
Okay, good, we waited.
Yeah, I think her
Prachi,
audio is.
Prachi,
Nahi.
hi. Mm.
Hi.
हाँ, there.
Okay, we waited for you.
Oh, you're not in Dehradun? Oh, acha, हाँ, you've reached. Of course, that's how tomorrow. Great. So we were just talking about any thoughts or discussions before we want to start the recording, and Manjuji was sharing how the one thing that has really changed is that earlier she would be like, if something happens in one's personal life, you have to make peace with it. And now feels like, no, if it's bothering me, then I need to figure out a solution because a solution is needed. So
I'm giving myself permission to look for solution. Earlier, I curbed that need, thinking I'm being too, materialistic or too demanding of life or whatever.
yeah. So
Yeah, I also feel it's absolutely necessary because otherwise it's hard to live with something unclosed, open basically. Things have to be dealt with, and sooner is better because later it's even harder.
yeah, yeah. More knots to untangle. Yeah. Okay. Anything before we start, Raji?
All good.
Okay. Cool. I'll share the screen. अरे हाँ दिख रहा है ना? So yesterday we had talked about the purpose. We were talking about the human being and how for the longest time a major part of our tradition has thought of human beings also in a mechanical way, in a mechanistic way, like a machine. And but yet, even for those who do claim that humans are machines, when they actually start living, when they live with their children or their parents, etc., can they claim that they feel like they are a machine in that moment, that these interactions are mechanical in those moments? And he says that for myself, I can say for sure that I can declare that I don't think that I'm a machine, I'm more than that. And he says, actually, in fact, all of us feel in these moments when we are living actually with other people, we feel the fact that we are indeed more than machines. And all machines have been created by humans, so they are less than humans. And they are all mechanical, material entities. We are much more than that. There is an element of bhav or value or like a rough word I can use for it is some sort of meaning, purpose, or sentiment in our living, in our actions. So he was talking about how actually there is no evidence there is no evidence for the fact that we are mechanical, that we are machines. And when we go about but the problem is that we need to evidence the fact that we are more than machines. So what are we really? We must understand that. And how are we more than machines? We must understand that, and then only can we actually evidence it instead of just having this vague feeling or claiming. So in the course of that, we were talking about how when we are interacting with our different relations, we are doing so when we understand relation. No. In the course of understanding relationships, this has come up because traditionally in the materialist ideology in the world, we believe that actually we have to become in these interactions also in our relationships. We have to become more and more efficient at mechanical interactions or formal interactions. But actually, that's not how it's supposed to be, because when we live with relationships, what we find fulfilling is when these are full of bhavpurn, or full of sentiment, actual feeling. And that's when they feel fulfilling, rather than when they are just mechanical. So let's see where it goes from there.
रचना कर नहीं पाए हैं। डिंग ऐसा हाँकते हैं तो मनुष्य जो है ना, यह कि यंत्र है, ऐसा डिंग हाँकते हैं ये।
Right. So we have never even been able to create machines out of the biological unit, and yet we claim that this human being, a unit of the knowledge order, is a machine. So we make these high claims despite still as yet being limited to just the material order.
कहाँ तक सही होगा, कहाँ तक उचित होगा, कहाँ तक मानव परंपरा के लिए ये अभ्युदय का अर्थ को पूरा करेगा, ये सब।
So till where will this be acceptable? Till where will this be appropriate? Until where will such thinking be able to fulfill our desire or goal of abhyuday or emergence or rising towards completion. This is something worth thinking
तब
about.
सोचने की मुद्दा आता है। यद्यपि काफी इसमें धर्म संकट हमको भी दिखती है, क्योंकि अभी तक किया हुआ दावाएं इतने गहरी खूनों में घुल चुकी हुई है। तो हर मनुष्य एक यंत्र है।
Yes, we've covered all this. We still see that this is a pretty huge dilemma, because this sort of claim of humans being mechanical and mechanistic, it has been so deeply absorbed into into society, into our bloodstreams, basically, this sort of thinking.
सामग्री है, इतने ही सोचा गया है, जबकि ऐसा नहीं है। तो जब कभी अपने बच्चों के साथ जीता है, मैं जिया हूं और आप जीते हो, ऐसा लगता है मैं यंत्र भर नहीं हूं और कुछ हूं।
So it's been so absorbed into our bloodstreams that we are machines, but then that is not the case. And then whenever we go about living with our child or our children, as I have lived with my children, we find that we are not machines, we are not mechanical.
इतना तो अनुमान आप में भी होता है, मुझ में भी। संबंधों में बच्चों के जीने जाता हूँ, उसमें हमको कहीं भी तृप्ति मिल नहीं पाती है।
So when I go about living mechanically in my relationships, there I never find any sort of fulfillment.
और उसके साथ कम से कम संवेदनाओं को तो पहचानना ही पड़ती है। संवेदनाओं को पहचानने के लिए जाता हूं तो वो यंत्र नहीं रह जाता है।
So along in such living, at least at the minimum, we have to recognize sensations. We have to be sensitive. And as soon as we go about recognizing and identifying sensations, I no longer remain mechanical.
संवेदनाओं को पहचानता नहीं हो, यंत्र हो जाता हूँ। यंत्रिकता में हमको अभी तक तो कोई तृप्ति मिला नहीं।
And when I in the space of not even recognizing sensations or not even being sensitive, then I become mechanical. And in this mechanicalness, one never finds any sort of fulfillment.
यंत्रिकता में हमको अभी तक तो कोई तृप्ति मिला नहीं है।
We have never as yet found any sort of fulfillment.
यंत्रवत कार्य करें, तृप्ति पा जाएं, ये हमको ऐसा कोई रास्ता नहीं मिला है।
That we work mechanically and feel fulfilled, we have not found any such way of living.
ऐसे कोई गुरु महाराज हो, उसको मैं आमंत्रित करता हूँ, ये 700 करोड़ आदमी के बीच में से हमको समझाया जाए।
If there is some title he gives, if there is any such person, I invite them to come and explain this to me I invite such a person amidst the 700 crore people to come and explain how this can be achieved to me.
कोई भी इस धरती पर कोई आदमी को हमने अभी तक पाया नहीं है। यंत्रवत तुम तृप्त होते हो। इसको
No one on this planet have I found that feels fulfilled by living mechanically.
को समझाने योग्य एक भी आदमी मिला नहीं। जितने लोगों में वंशानुषंगी विधि से बात करने वालों को बात करने,
and neither have I found anyone who is capable of explaining or justifying properly this mechanical living of humans. And among those people who talk about this lineage concordant living of human beings, which means basically people who talk about human beings as equal to animals. You know, human beings live as their parents did, and the parents live as their parents did. This is what animals are like, but humans are not like that, because humans are sanskar concordant. He's saying, but then popularly, contemporarily, we have a lot of streams of thoughts that talk about how humans are actually primarily lineage concordant, basically nature rather than nurture, more than nurture. So
लोगों में वंशानुषंगी विधि से बात करने वालों के साथ हम झेला और वंशानुषंगी विधि से वे हमको मनुष्य को समझाने में योग्य नहीं रहे.
So we tolerated a lot of the people who tried to explain human living through lineage concordance, and yet they remained unsuccessful in being able to explain humanity through such lineage concordance.
और उसके बाद मात्रा सिद्धांत से जितने लोगों के साथ हमारा मुलाकात हुई है, उन सिद्धांत के अनुसार मनुष्य को यांत्रिकता में तृप्ति पाने का कोई विधि उनके पास नहीं रही है. हमको तृप्त करने में असमर्थ रहे हैं.
I'm not sure what this matra siddhant is. Matra is quantity and siddhant is principle. So on the basis, so if I were to translate it literally, he says, so, and on the basis of this quantity principle, if I were to look at the people who have been talking about lineage concordance in humans, then I can say that they have not been able to explain or convince anyone regarding this sort of explanation of human living. Not sure what Matra Siddhant is.
सिद्धांत के अनुसार मनुष्य को यांत्रिकता में तृप्ति पाने का कोई विधि उनके पास नहीं.
No, he's saying, so by this quantity principle, there is no basis for humans to find fulfillment through mechanistic living. They can provide no such thing.
Is it material matra? Quantity, assembling,
accumulation. That's the only thing I can imagine. Ki Matra Siddhant is quantity principle is this principle of greatest accumulation. So like in economics, we have profit obsession. So even there, they have not been able to provide any basis of human fulfillment on the basis of accumulating great quantities of whatever, material and wealth.
रही है, हमको तृप्त करने में असमर्थ रहे हैं. हम ऐसे लोगों के साथ मिल चुका हूं, उन लोगों से अनुनय विनय पूर्वक उनको पूरा समझने की कोशिश किया हूं.
So they have remained unsuccessful in what exactly? How did you say it?
ये हमको तृप्त करने में असमर्थ रहे हैं.
In having us feel fulfilled, in fulfilling us. So these people who believe in accumulation and mechanistic living for humans, I have met such people, and they have such people have been unsuccessful in fulfilling humans. And I have met such people, and despite a lot of anunay vinay is like, putting in a lot of effort to engaging in discourse, basically. I think vinay is to request, and anunay is also something like to request. So he like with great effort and
maybe sincerity.
Sincerity, yeah. With despite engaging in sincere discourse with such people, they have been unable to satisfy. Yeah.
हम ऐसे लोगों के साथ मिल चुका हूं, उन लोगों से अनुनय विनय पूर्वक उनको पूरा समझने की कोशिश किया हूं, उसमें पूरा हमारा ईमानदारी को नियोजित किया हूं. इसके बावजूद यही स्थिति मैंने पाया.
Right. So with great sincerity, I have tried to understand them, and I have and despite putting in a lot of these efforts, I have been unable to understand and be satisfied.
उसके बाद आता है तीसरा सिद्धांत, सापेक्ष सिद्धांत. सापेक्ष सिद्धांत के अनुसार सापेक्ष सिद्धांत में जो निष्णात हैं, पारंगत हैं, ऐसे लोगों से भी मनुष्य का विश्लेषण के बारे में अनुनय विनय पूर्वक.
So after that comes the principle of relativism. And with such people also who believe in relativism, I have gone through a lot of sincere discourse and done this Anunay. I would like to see actually what this Anunay Vinay is, particularly, specifically Anunay.
It's agraha.
Courtesy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. With great entreaty. Yeah. Entreaty is the right word, I guess. Yeah. So despite the same process with people who believe in relativism, for this undergoing this discourse on asking them to explain human living through this lens of relativism, I have reached the same conclusion that they have been unable to satisfy, explain and satisfy. Yeah, an earnest and humble request. Yeah, that's what Anunay Vinay is.
संगत हैं, ऐसे लोगों से भी मनुष्य का विश्लेषण के बारे में अनुनय विनय पूर्वक उनके सानिध्य का हम सेवन किया है। उनके साथ भी हमको सापेक्ष सिद्धांत के अनुसार मनुष्य को तृप्ति पाने के बिंदु और तृप्त होने की विधि, इन दोनों बात को समझाने में असमर्थ रहे।
So despite having had the privilege to enjoy their company, and despite such entreaties of trying to understand humans, their descriptions of humans based on relativism, they have been unable to provide any sort of fulfillment on the point of fulfillment for humans and the way for fulfillment for humans. So from the relativistic view also, they're unable to identify what humans, the point of human fulfillment is, and also the method of getting there.
मैं अभी यही चाहता हूं कि यदि इन तीन सिद्धांतों से कोई मनुष्य यदि विश्लेषित हो पाता है, उसको शिरोधारी करना चाहिए। यदि नहीं हो पाता है, जिद नहीं किया जाए, मनुष्य को मनुष्य के रूप में पहचाना जाए।
So the only request I wish to make is that if humans can be completely explained through these three principles, which were the three principles: lineage concordance, mechanical view, and this relativism. So if humans can be explained, human life can be explained completely through these principles, then they must be made primary. This perspective must be turned primary. Shirodhari means like made the head. They should be basically put on the head or something. And if not, then we must not be stubborn about it. And what exactly did he say?
नहीं हो पाता है, जिद नहीं किया जाए, मनुष्य को मनुष्य के रूप में पहचाना जाए।
If they cannot explain humanity, then let's not be stubborn about it and understand human beings as humans.
मनुष्य को मनुष्य के रूप में पहचानने की यदि हमारा मन तैयार होता है, उसमें उसके लिए ये प्रस्ताव समर्पित है।
If we prepare, if we become ready to understand human beings as humans, for that situation, this proposal is ready. I mean, this proposal is ready if you become ready to understand human beings as humans.
तो इन तीनों सिद्धांतों के पक्ष में हमारा प्रस्ताव नहीं है।
Because my proposal is not in favor of any of these three principles.
ये मुख्य बात है।
That is the
यहाँ तक
major point. So this is where we have reached.
इसके पहले हम आदर्शवादी विधि से बात हुई थी, उसका भी उत्तर आपके सम्मुख प्रस्तुत कर दिया।
And before this, we had talked about the idealistic way, and the answer to that also I have presented before you. So these three principles are the different lenses through which materialism has tried to understand human beings. And before that, we had already discussed how idealism has gone about it with the whole heroistic salvager of humankind and all that.
ईश्वर तारेगा, ईश्वर का ना तारने का ना फंसाने का दोनों काम नहीं है, उनके पास ऐसा कोई फैक्ट्री नहीं है।
So that I have already presented before you, that God will emancipate us, and God has no programs of either trapping or emancipating us. God has no such factory.
ईश्वर को हम देख लिया है।
I have seen God.
कैसा देख लिया? व्यापक रूप में देख लिया।
How have I seen it? I have it, he, she, all these pronouns are a little odd to be using for space. So, but I'll just continue using it, even though there is no unit. So, how have I seen God? I have seen God as omnipresence.
व्यापक रूप में ऊर्जा के स्वरूप में देख लिया। ऊर्जा को हमने हर वस्तु ऊर्जित होने के रूप में देख लिया।
So, this omnipresence I have seen in the form of energy, and this energy I have seen in the form of every single entity being energized.
हर वस्तु सह अस्तित्व में जीने के रूप में देख लिया। अब क्या?
And in the form of every entity living in the form of a coexistence.
क्या देखना बाकी है? आप ही सोच लो, यदि बाकी होता आप देख लेना।
Now, what is left to be seen? You think about that. If there is anything left to be seen, you see it.
संसार को दे देना। क्या बुरा है?
And then give it to the world. What's wrong with that?
इसमें कौन कहता है?
Who has any objection?
आप अनुसंधान करने के लिए मेरे जैसे ही आजाद हो। मैं अकेले ठेकेदार नहीं हूँ।
You are equally free to inquire and explore, just as I am. I am no sole proprietor of this. Yeah.
मैं जितना देखा समझा वो आपके सम्मुख प्रस्तुत करने के लिए ये प्रयास है।
All that I have seen and understood, this is nothing but an attempt at presenting that before you.
और कुछ भी नहीं। आप स्वीकारें तो भी हमको उतनी ही खुशी है, और नहीं स्वीकारें तो भी हमारा खुशी हमारे पास सुरक्षित है।
And nothing else. So this is nothing but an attempt at presenting before you what I have seen and understood. If you accept it, I am still happy by that. If you don't accept it, my happiness is still secure with me.
हम इसमें परेशान होने वाले व्यक्ति नहीं हो।
I am not someone who will be perturbed by this.
ये बिल्कुल सिद्ध बात है।
This is something which is completely established.
ये तथ्य को हम आपके सम्मुख रखने की उत्साहित रहे, वो अवसर पाकर ऐसा कुछ योग आ गया रखने के लिए तय।
And I have been enthused by the opportunity of presenting this fact before you, and it just so happened that I had this opportunity.
उत्साहित रहे, वो अवसर पाकर ऐसा कुछ योग आ गया रखने के लिए तैयार हो गए हम।
And such an opportunity presented itself, and so I prepared myself to present it.
ठीक है।
Okay.
इस ढंग से क्या हुई? हम संवेदनशील विधि से भी हम पूरा नहीं पढ़े, ना यांत्रिक विधि से पूरा पढ़े।
So in this way, what have we achieved? That neither did we feel, or neither did we reach completion by way of sensitivity, and nor did we reach completion by way of mechanistic. What is the word? Mechanicalness, mechanism, machineness.
Mechanical, na? Quantity.
Mechanicalness. I'm just trying to see the form that word will take. Yantrikta. So mechanicalness.
Machinization.
Mechanization. Yes, mechanization. Yes. So neither did we reach completion through sensitivity, nor did we reach it through mechanization.
इस घाट में हम आ गए।
This is the bank that we have reached. Now, sensitivity was what idealism brought us to, and mechanization is what materialism has brought us to. And yet neither are complete. That is the bank we have reached. And by bank, he's talking about how a river crosses multiple banks before it reaches the ocean.
संवेदनशील विधि से इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष को हम केंद्र में लाते हैं। फलस्वरूप जो हमारा इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष की हैसियत और अपेक्षा और हमारा भाई का इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष और उसकी अपेक्षा दोनों में दूरियां हैं।
So by way of sensitivity, we try to हम इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष की विधि से किसको लाते हैं?
तो हमारा इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष की हैसियत संवेदनशील विधि से इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष को हम केंद्र में लाते हैं।
By way of sensitivity, we bring our sensations to the forefront, to the center, and my sensations or sensory preferences and my brother's sensory preferences can never be matched.
स्वरूप जो हमारा इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष की हैसियत और अपेक्षा और हमारा
the हैसियत and अपेक्षा, the status and expectation of my sensations will never match the status and expectations of my brother's sensations.
भाई का इंद्रिय सन्निकर्ष और उसकी अपेक्षा दोनों में दूरियां हैं।
There will always be a distance.
इस ढंग से मनुष्य को अपने विविधता में बंटने की आवश्यकता बनी जाती है।
And in this way, humans develop the need to divide on the basis of their diversity. This diversity is in the distance between the state and expectations of my sensations versus everyone else's.
यही एकमात्र सूत्र है जो संवेदनशील विधि से मनुष्य व्यक्तिवादी हो ही जाता है।
This is the whole sole principle based on which human beings become individualistic, must end up becoming individualistic when following the way of sensitivity.
एक तो ये हो गई।
So one is this.
और दूसरे विधि से भोगवाद से तो व्यक्तिवादी होता ही है। ये तो आप हम सब अनुभव करके ही बैठे हैं।
And alternately, by the second way, naturally, through consumerism, the individual must become individualistic necessarily. This is something that all of us have already experienced and seen.
अनुभव करना शेष नहीं है, ये तो रखा ही है। तीसरा विधि जो हमको पूर्वजों ने बताई थी, विरक्तिवादी भक्ति।
So this is not something that we are yet to see and experience. This is something we've already experienced, that one becomes individualistic when one becomes consumeristic. And then the third way that our elders had advised us towards was the way of detachment and reverence, devotion and detachment.
ये भी व्यक्तिवादिता में ही अंत हुई।
That too ended up in nothing but individualism.
इस ढंग से तो मनुष्य जो है अभी तक जितने भी अथक प्रयास किया, घोर परिश्रम किया और घोर आशावाद से भर करके प्रयत्न किया, सारा प्रयत्न मने निष्फल होने का आधार व्यक्तिवाद ही सिद्ध हुआ।
So in this way, all the tireless attempts humans have made, the strenuous efforts humans have put in, and the great expectations and hopes with which we have put them in, have all proven unsuccessful by way of by landing up in this sort of individualism, by ending up in individualism.
सारा प्रयत्न मने निष्फल होने का आधार व्यक्तिवाद ही सिद्ध हुआ और कोई बात।
So all of these attempts were established as unsuccessful because they all landed up in individualism.
बात नहीं रहा। व्यक्तिवाद सहअस्तित्ववाद के विरोधी है।
Individualism is contradictory to coexistentialism.
क्या विरोधी है? सह-अस्तित्ववाद के विरोधी है।
What is it contradictory to? It is contradictory to coexistentialism.
अस्तित्ववाद के पक्ष में व्यक्तिवाद काम ही नहीं कर सकता।
Individualism cannot work in favor of coexistence, coexistentialism.
यही सारा मनुष्य टूटने का आधार बना। व्यक्तिवाद
And this has proven to be the basis for all humanity crumbling down.
से हम कहाँ होना है? सह अस्तित्व में जीना है। सह अस्तित्व में जीने का सरल उपाय मानव के साथ सह अस्तित्व को पहचाना जाए। मानव के साथ सह अस्तित्व को पहचानते हैं, व्यवस्था में जीना बनता है, समग्र व्यवस्था में भागीदारी करना बनता है।
Where will individualism take us? We have to live in coexistence. And how do we live in coexistence? We have to live in coexistence with other human beings. When we end up living in coexistence with other human beings, we are able to participate in humane orders, and also in we end up becoming humane orders and also participating in the larger order.
इसको आगे अपन अध्ययन करेंगे।
This is what we will study further ahead.
तो उसी के साथ हम जीव संसार के साथ भी सह अस्तित्व में जीना है। सह अस्तित्व में
And along with this, we also have to live in coexistence with the animal world.
जीने का क्या चीज है? पूरकता विधि है।
And what does it mean to live in coexistence with them? It means the way of complementarity.
हम में दी मैंने वनस्पति संसार से कुछ लेते हैं। वनस्पति संसार को देने के लिए भी अपने पास कुछ हो। बिना
So if we are to take something from the plant world, then we should have something to give back also to this plant world.
बिना दिए हम लेने के लिए कोशिश करते हैं, इसका नाम होता है सेक्सिली।
If we try to take something without giving anything back in return, that is what is called shake chilli. Can you remind me what shake chilli was again?
Shake chilli is a character basically which is used for someone who is big fake promises, thoughtless promises. Like if I talk very big things, like I'll build you a gold palace, Drishta, or if I tell you, oh, this is very easy for me, I'll do it
ये
tomorrow.
तो right. Yeah. So you're saying this is, if we expect and if we believe that we'll be able to take something without giving anything back in return, then that is being shake chilli. Then that is what is given the name shake chilli. Okay.
एक सेक्सिली विधि से मनुष्य प्रताड़ित दुखी होने के अलावा दूसरा कुछ होता नहीं।
And with this shake chilli way, there is no other consequence besides humans becoming miserable and and upset.
अंतिम मंजिल वही है।
That is its
इसका
ultimate
अंतिम
destiny.
शरण इतनी है, दुख में अंत हो जाओ, प्रताड़ना में अंत हो जाओ।
That is its an ultimate resting place, to end in sadness, to end in misery,
कुंठा में अंत हो जाओ।
to end in kuntha is it's
Deep pain. Kuntha is also like
similar,
disappointment, kind of a deep-seated disappointment. Not disappointment, deep-seated dissatisfaction,
but frustration.
frustration. Better.
Yeah. That is what the dictionary tells us. Yeah. So it
यही
ends
बनता
in
है।
sadness, it ends up resulting in misery, and it ends up resulting in frustration. That is all that it becomes.
यही बनते जा रहा है।
And that is all that it is becoming.
इतिहास इसी को कहता है। वर्तमान में जो कुछ भी घटनाएं हैं, इसी को घोषित कर रहे हैं।
That is what history is also saying, And even in the present, all the events that are transpiring, this is what they are declaring, this is what they are announcing basically.
आप भी देख सकते हैं, मैं भी, मुझको भी दिखाई पड़ती है। इस बात को अपने को स्वीकारना चाहिए। तो सहअस्तित्व,
You can also see this and it is visible to me as well. So we must accept this fact.
में जीने के लिए वनस्पति संसार, जंगल, पहाड़, खनिज, इनके साथ भी हमको सहअस्तित्व को निश्चय करना आवश्यक है।
So in order to live in coexistence, we must also live in coexistence with these forests, these rivers, these mountains. That is also something we must find a definite way of living in complementarity with.
यदि इनके साथ हमारा सहअस्तित्व को निश्चय करने में यदि हम असमर्थ हैं, हम कोई विज्ञानी नहीं है, ना कोई ज्ञानी नहीं है, ना कोई विवेकीय नहीं है।
And if we are unable to establish any coexistence with these rivers, these forests, and these mountains, then we are no scientists, we are no scholars, and we are no
Patient.
judges. We are no great judges. Vivek is someone with good judgment. So we are no judges then.
तीनों नहीं है, ना कोई ज्ञानी नहीं है, ना कोई विवेकीय नहीं है, तीनों नहीं है। हम
we aren't any of these then.
हमारा विज्ञान में पूर्ति नहीं है, ना हमारा ज्ञान ही पूर्ति है, ना कोई विवेक ही पूर्ति है।
It means that neither is our science complete, nor is our knowledge complete, and neither is our judgment complete, basically. Our judgment is also flawed, our knowledge systems are also flawed, and our science is also flawed. If we are unable to establish coexistence with the forests, the rivers, the jungles, and the mountains.
तो पर्याप्त नहीं होगा तो कहाँ जिए भाई? इन सबके साथ हमको जीना ही है, धरती को छोड़ करके कहाँ जियोगे?
So if these are insufficient, then where are we going to live then? There is, how can we leave this earth and live elsewhere?
भाई, इन सबके साथ हमको जीना ही है, धरती को छोड़ करके कहाँ जियोगे?
So we have to live with all of these. How can we forget about the earth, leave the earth and then live?
जंगल को छोड़ के कहाँ जाओगे? खनिज को छोड़ करके कहाँ जियोगे? जीव जानवरों को छोड़ करके कहाँ से जियोगे?
How will we leave this, the forest and then live? How can we live upon leaving the animals? How can we live upon leaving the plants?
ये सब हमारा साथ रहने वाले द्रव्य है, ऐश्वर्य है, संपदा है, इनको भी रहना है, हम मानव को भी रहना है।
All of these are entities or bounty or beauty that has to live along with us, that has to exist along with us. So they must also exist and humans must also exist.
ये जो निश्चित रेखाकरण मनुष्य ही इसमें प्रमुख मुद्दा बनता है। मनुष्य ही इसमें भ्रमित रह करके अपने को जितना दुखी होना है, प्रताड़ित होना है, कर लिया है। अब जो है करवट लेने की जरूरत है।
So this definite demarcation is something that humans themselves must do, and
मुद्दा बनता है। मनुष्य ही इसमें भ्रमित रह करके अपने को जितना दुखी होना है, प्रताड़ित होना है, कर लिया है। अब जो है करवट लेने की जरूरत है, जागृत।
And it has been humans themselves who have remained delusioned regarding this and have led to their own unhappiness, led to their own misery. And now we have reached a point where we must turn over a new leaf.
होने की जरूरत है, इन सब के साथ सहअस्तित्व को पहचानना।
And we must recognize our coexistence with all of these.
सहअस्तित्व को पहचानने की विधि में यही हम पाए हैं, मैं जो पाया हूँ वो ये ही है, ये सभी का सभी सत्ता में ही है, पहला सहज।
So, by this way of recognizing coexistence, what I have found is that all of these are situated within omnipotence.
अस्तित्व का गवाही यही है, ये सभी का सभी सत्ता में ही है, पहला सह अस्तित्व का गवाही यही है।
So, all of these are first found to be within omnipotence itself. That is the very first testimony of coexistence. The fact that all entities are together within this
क्रम से पदार्थावस्था से ही प्राणावस्था अपने आप से उद्गमित और प्रभावित और निरंतर वैभवित है।
And in this progression, the material order, then the biological order, and then the animal order, initially they emerge and then they evidence themselves in their full form.
अपने आप से
By
उद्गमित
themselves.
और प्रभावित और निरंतर वैभवित है।
So these three orders on their own are emerge, on their own they are effective, and on their own they are manifest in their glory.
और प्राणावस्था अपने आप में एक विधिवत माने अपने को व्यवस्था के रूप में जीना माने प्रभावित है और प्रमाणित है।
So this biological order on its own, within itself also, it is क्या नियंत्रित तो नहीं बोला।
और प्राणावस्था अपने आप में एक विधिवत माने अपने को व्यवस्था के रूप में जीना माने प्रभावित है और प्रमाणित है।
So this biological order is in its own orderly way, it is effective in the form of a systematic order
गवाहित है
and is testified as an order in itself.
बात हुई है। इन गवाही के साथ जैसा जीव संसार भी अपने तरीके से त्वासहित व्यवस्था में गवाहित है।
In the same way, this animal world is also in its own way evidenced and testimony to orderliness.
मनुष्य को अपने त्वासहित व्यवस्था में गवाहित होने की
The animal order with its own uniqueness, it is this order, and then humans need to are yet to basically
गवाहित है। मनुष्य को अपने त्वासहित व्यवस्था में गवाहित होने की आवश्यकता।
Humans still need to become testimony to their own orderliness with their uniqueness.
मनुष्य अपने त्वा को कैसा समझा जाए, स्वा को कैसा समझाए।
So how do humans understand their own tva and their swa? Now, the translation I've been using for tva is our uniqueness, and swa is one's self. So tva is actually also just a suffix. When we say something's ness, that ness is what the role tva plays. So manavatva is manavness or humanness. So svatva is the whole thing he's talking about. So svatva means selfness. So what is humanness? What is humans' selfness? So we must understand this ness also of humans and the self also of humans, is what he's saying. Svatva.
मनुष्य अपने त्वा को कैसा समझा जाए, स्वा को कैसा समझाए।
So how do humans understand their ness, their uniqueness, and their self, the thing which has the uniqueness?
स्वत्व, स्वा भी हो, त्वा भी हो, इसको
Svatva or selfness. So there is a self also, and then there is a ness also.
को इसके बारे में मुख्य मुद्दा रही।
That has been a major issue.
इसके बारे में जो अभी ये इस जीवन विद्या के तहत में ये स्वा भी समझ में आता है, त्वा भी समझ में आता है।
And regarding this, within this Jeevan Vidya, we can understand both the self as well as the ness. So we can understand the swa as well as the twa.
जीवन को स्व के रूप में हम पहचानते हैं, पहचाना मैं हूं और आप भी पहचान सकते हैं।
Jeevan is what we recognize as the self. I am the one who has recognized this, and you can also recognize it.
शरीर को स्व के रूप में पहचानते तक हम भ्रमित रहते हैं और जीवन को जिस वक्त में, जिस मुहूर्त से हम स्व के रूप में पहचानना शुरू करता हूं, उसी क्षण से, उसी मुहूर्त से हम व्यवस्था में जीते हुए मैं अपने को पाया।
And till the time we recognize the body as the self, till that point we remain delusioned. And from this moment, from the second that we start to recognize the Jeevan as the self, from that point onwards, I found myself to have become orderly.
से उसी मुहूर्त से हम व्यवस्था में जीते हुए मैं अपने को पाया।
From that moment itself, I found myself to be living in order.
आप भी वैसे ही पाओगे।
And you will also find the same to be true.
इसके पहले होने वाला नहीं है।
And that is not going to happen before this point.
इसके बाद और कुछ जरूरत नहीं है।
And after this point, there is no other need, there is no requirement left.
बात ऐसी बनी हुई है।
That is how this stands.
कितना ये प्रकृति सहज, अस्तित्व सहज, सह अस्तित्व सहज, परिपूर्ण माने प्रक्रिया है, आप स्वयं सोच सकते हैं।
I want to say something funny. It's almost said it like that's the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah. Basically, this is just how it crumbles. There's nothing before this your delusion. After this, there is no more, and that is just how the cookie crumbles. And then he says that how wonderful is this natural. Let me just listen.
परिपूर्ण माने प्रक्रिया है, सह अस्तित्व सहज, परिपूर्ण माने प्रक्रिया है, आप स्वयं सोच सकते हैं।
Just how complete this coexistentially natural process is something you can think for yourself. You can estimate for yourself. So maybe we should pause here. We have 2 minutes. It seems like a good rounding up point. This is an interesting area that he's talking about. The fact that when we recognize that myself is the Jeevan, from that point onwards, he is saying we are capable of living in order. That means until we are living in order, at some level or the other, we are still identifying with the body and not with the Jeevan. And then the question becomes, okay, what's the difference between me saying today, yeah, okay, I accept, it must be the Jeevan and not the body that is me, to this point with that he is talking about, in which you actually identify with the Jeevan and not with the body. So there is clearly a difference between this sort of general agreement and that sort of actual anchored knowledge of the self and who I identify with.
You know, while we were doing this and the word orderly comes up so often, many such words come up, humane, you know, sometime I would like to know if there's a place where I can, with examples, read this. Like orderly would be this and this as versus not orderly. Not simple ones, like the fairly complicated ones, no?
I mean, it's all what is simple and what is complicated, that which we understand is simple and that which we don't understand is complicated. So
not like maths mein ye hua, so this is equal to this, so this is orderly.
No,
not that little example.
Orderly is like, see how when we take a seed and from that, when a plant grows out of just this tiny seed, imagine a mustard seed. Today we were drying mustard seeds, and this huge plant, mustard plant, grows out of it. Or in fact, even this huge banyan tree, have you ever seen how tiny the seeds of a banyan tree are? And how an entire, uh, enormous banyan tree grows out of that tiny seed? Or that itself is testimony that there is something orderly happening. If it was all haphazard, then that would not be possible. Then each time there'd be something different. But we know when we plant a
This
seed
I
and
call
give
a
it,
simple this I call very simple explanation. It's
yeah.
when we come to the humans. That
So
in the complicated way, I want to understand how does orderly work with
I
a
mean,
life, with a
humans are
real
not
example.
orderly right now. Nothing in
No,
our
how
life
to
is
become
orderly.
orderly? How to become what makes that is equal to orderly, and this is not orderly.
Right,
But
right.
obviously, if you kill someone, it's not orderly, and not exactly that way, but
Yeah.
not such a contrasting example, but a
Yeah, yeah.
more subtle example, but not to do with plants and animals. There, it's very easy to understand.
Yeah, because they're very obviously orderly, therefore it's easy to understand. And humans are very obviously not orderly, therefore it's difficult to spot any semblance of order in it. But you could start with something like, our everyday routine, even. That's some sort of order, maybe. That may be some sort of order humans have been able to achieve. At least we will be, definite and predictable in terms of what we do at what times in the day. But yes, and Manjari Singh, hi.
Hello.
I
Hi,
didn't want
hi.
to interrupt, so I just shook my hand, waved my hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's also a very mechanical orderliness, but that's about all we have been able to achieve. Actual orderliness among humans would be in our interactions with each other. So this is where Nyaya comes in. In humans, orderly living is through just living. How are we able to manage the relationships between, within a family? So in a family, there are three generations generally, and multiple members in each generation. How are we able to manage those dynamics in a just way, where all, even the youngest members to the members in the middle, who have the most responsibility often, to the most elderly members, how do all of them feel heard and seen and respected and understood and loved and cared for? That would be the evidence of orderliness in humans. And it's not easy to give an example because we don't see that anywhere. But we do feel the absence of that very obviously, very overtly. No? But
ठीक है, makes
yes,
sense.
that would be orderly. Actually, there's another example. If you think about, if you've ever been in any sort of committee or community, any sort of group of people who have voluntarily come together to do something, everyone comes in with great hopes and great intentions and full of enthusiasm and goodwill. But we hope to be like that. We come to a lot of initially with all our enthusiasm, we come to a lot of agreements. Okay, we'll do it this way. I will listen to you, you will listen to me, and we will take care of each other, and we will address all these issues and all that. Not initially, we all come together, but slowly, you can see it in any example of any group of people coming together with such conscious decision, also with conscious intentions of coming and forming a unit that will stay together. Eventually, slowly, because we are not able to handle our dynamics, our interpersonal dynamics with each other, these groups eventually dissipate and disintegrate because we are not able to find that order. Therefore, that is evidence, that is testimony to the fact that in humans, any order can only be sustained on the basis of actual justice. To contrast that with other organizations like companies and huge organizations that are still running in the world, they do seem to have lasting togetherness somehow, somewhat, to some extent. But if we really look carefully, what sort of togetherness is that? That is the mechanical, that is the formal sort of togetherness in which all units of that body organization are there based on some sort of incentive or some sort of fears for each. When there's an employer, employee, organizational head, and then that hierarchical structure, there is some sort of incentivization and some sort of fear-based motivation that is keeping people together. And in the long run, it does not keep people together. It is not fulfilling. And therefore, it either disintegrates on its own, or it expands its dysfunction to larger areas. And that is how we've reached, it's the, large organizations of the world that have contributed so majorly to the destruction of this planet. It's not individual humans and family members who have led to the destruction of the rainforests in the Amazon or in our country, or the large scale mining. It's at the national level, the organizations at national and international level. These dysfunctional togetherness are spreading dysfunction at the larger scale. So that is, in humankind, we can only really clearly see dysfunction and disorderliness. But we can imagine, therefore, what orderliness would be like.
Yeah, very well explained. Yeah.
Anything else? Even Papa is here today.
So the difference between the animal world and this is also clear, I think. And another thing which we can see within the human collectives, what they are doing right now, we try either for the benefit of the collective, for the benefit of the collective, but the harmony within and the harmony without, outside, both of these are not taken. There has to be balance within the both. So till the time we are aware in this, there is no orderliness. Orderliness is not we are functioning together, but we are leading to some kind of a negative impact on the environment, or negative impact on the larger society, or a negative impact on the ecosystem. So if we are working together well, it should result in our harmony with the environment also. So harmony within and harmony with outside. That's what it says, no? The being a system within itself while being part of the larger system.
Yeah.
That part has to be. So that is orderliness.
With testimony to one's own, a unit's orderliness will be its complementarity to the larger system.
Yes.
Contribution to the larger system.
Yeah. So till now, the collectives that we have formed are for the benefit of the self, whether it is one individual, whether it is one family, whether one community, one nation. Our group should benefit at the cost of others. That is what is lacking. That is what is missing. It cannot be at the cost of others. So that kind of orderliness is missing. Whereas in the animal world, their regulation is through the natural laws. And like for an animal, for example, even a carnivore will kill some animal for its hunger. But once its hunger is satiated, it will not go on killing. But we have gone around killing for sport, for entertainment. So things like that. And
for accumulation.
For accumulation and for all those.
All.
Yeah. So there the regulation is coming from the natural systems. Here we have to realize that we need to be regulated and we have to self-regulate. So that's the biggest job for us. That's what our conscious abilities are meant for self-regulation. What we are trying to regulate others, that is the problem. The shift is always for the regulation of the other, not for the regulation of the self, or for our group, for our family, our community, our nation. That is the problem.
So it's sounding like we could go either this way as a humanity, or we could go this way.
Yeah.
If we change, or if we don't get it right, then obviously it will become worse and worse.
Yeah.
Or maybe it'll stay just like this, kitchen.
Yeah. See, if we look at the history, historically, we have been going towards the negative only. We have damaged this planet so much that there's a chance it might not be able to heal itself. Even if we correct our ways.
Unless it gets rid of the humans.
No, that doesn't work, because humans were not produced by the humans. Humans were produced by the nature. So there is no healing without the realization of human beings.
So what is our role with the nature? I mean, not to destroy, of course,
Yeah.
But how do we help nature in any way?
We have to realize,
Ants and the earthworms help nature, right?
yeah,
Then the trees help nature.
yeah,
The
yeah,
moss under the trees helps. All the rivers help.
Yeah.
Oceans help. Fishes help. Everything help.
Yeah.
Humans are not don't contribute to nature. We destroy that the other thing.
Yeah.
Even if we do the destruction, we
Hmm.
are not contributing. And just to exist, we have to take something out of
We don't
nature.
have to, we end up.
we're doing that because that's what we are aware until now. We
What
only
would we eat? We would eat vegetables and all. We'd have to plow the land. We'd have to grow it.
yeah, yeah.
Or we'd have to kill animals, eat them.
But imagine when we emerged in nature, we would eat the fruit that was growing on the trees, and then we poop and pee at the same tree. So we would fertilize it also. So we were actually giving back, and then we reduced the give back over the long run. Taken more than
Right.
we.
But that is a good question to think about. What is the human's role in the whole system? In existence, do humans have a role or not?
Now it is like the half the humans say us are destroying nature, then the role of the other half is to try and talk about not destroying or do whatever
Yeah.
they can. Even.
Try to
Now we
control
know
those who are destroying.
destruction. But that is not the original role because
Yeah.
the negative, there's some hope for somebody being positive. But if nobody was negative, what was our real role in this nature? We don't seem to be playing a major anything.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good
Has
question.
Baba said anything on that part?
Oh, yeah.
That's exactly what he's talking about. But yes, we'll get to that point.
I seem to answer question just a day before I think.
Good. That's a good
Yeah.
tendency. Yeah. What is the human's role in nature? Why did we emerge? Initially, at some point, he had said something like this. No, he actually, in fact, he has answered this. But that time, this context hadn't arisen. So he had said something like this: there is no futility in nature. So if anything has emerged, it must have a purpose. So therefore, humans must have a purpose. And then he had gone on and mentioned what that role or what the significance of humans in nature is. So I'm sure it will get elaborated a bit more again. He does circle back. Yeah.
So your traveling is over or still on?
My traveling is never over.
No, for a while, I mean.
I know I have to go to Roorkee in the on Monday or Tuesday. Then not long distance travel. Long distance travel is from 25th. I'm going to Ahmedabad for a 10-day visit. I'm taking a workshop there. Then I'll be back again here till May, June when I have to go to Palampur for. Are you coming to Palampur, Manjuji?
I was thinking, I don't know, I'll come to know later when the Dharka Sthiti, depending on that.
Okay.
But I have that in mind. I keep looking at it. It comes, I watched it.
Yeah.
So that would be nice, no? Because it'll be in English.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prachi is
By
also.
by then I'll be more educated also, I think.
I'm also gonna be there.
Yeah. Hi.
You think hi?
Hi.
Oh, Veera Gandhi.
Nikal dena.
It's okay.
Hi, Prachi.